well, obviously, 10 years out, there, from whatever this year to 10 years, there is stuff that's coming down the line. I'm not comfortable without having that right in front of me, saying, this is specifically it, because I'm gonna be held to, any mistake that I might say or anything like that.
Who would question that?
The only buddy
And in
who fire
fact,
was us.
if I remember correctly, the fire department has apparatus that is 20-year life, the large apparatus. You have smaller vehicles that are 15, and I think you got something that's 10-year life cycle. And those are all laid out in the
Right.
schedule in the CIP report.
Everything is different as far as
And
life cycle.
it's,
And are those life cycles anything to do with the fire code, whatever the name of it is?
NFPA? Yes, most definitely. There is a town in Maine that was just on the news that they just stopped their fire department from responding to calls because their gear is over 10 years old. I didn't see the whole.
Not their trucks.
Oh,
The
well, it may be
personal gear?
it might be the trucks also. I don't know the whole outcome or the whole story behind it. But they have just made arrangements with area departments around them to cover them until their gear gets updated. So like fire gear, anything over 10 years old must be replaced, whether it looks brand new or
And
not.
this is, who
This is
shut
the
that?
code we
The
voted in.
NFPA standards that we follow for, for a lifetime now.
Right, but there's
Um,
a code involved, but who's the code enforcement officer? In that particular case, who said you can't
For
go
the
to
insurance
fires?
companies.
That's the insurance companies, yeah.
Well, basically, so if something happens, any chief that doesn't follow the standards that are in place, is taking a big risk. It's gonna come down on him and the town in the long run if something happened. So like every year, we have our gear that is, listed out. When it needs to be replaced, we know whose gear needs to be replaced. The same with apparatus, any equipment that we do hose testing every year, and all the different things to keep us in compliance, to make sure that if something did happen, that hose broke and struck someone in the head or something along that lines, we could prove that it was tested, or something bad happened to someone as far as like their SCBA that went bad. We can prove that we maintenance those every year. We have them tested every year.
You even test your ladders.
Right,
every
ladders. If a ladder failed,
Ropes.
the first year that I came here and became, as far as chief wise, when we had the ladders tested, every ladder failed the ladder testing besides one, where someone could actually drive a screwdriver through the bones or things like that, and we had them all replaced. So
to make a long story a short story, part of the issue before us always, especially with the fire department, it seems, is this idea of want versus need.
Right.
And what you're describing to me is a structure of need. And the wants seem to be somewhere other than that. I mean,
Right.
we have things we have to have,
Yeah.
not just things we
I mean,
want to have.
the wants could get into, okay, instead of a regular fire truck, instead of a $580,000 fire truck, I want to go with, Pierce Manufacturing, and it's going to be $700,000 for their basic fire truck. Or I want a ladder truck or something like that,
Cool.
which isn't there.
All right,
all right,
thanks.
we're good? All right, let's move along. First departmental update, Chief Thompson, come on down.
Yeah, everything's done.
We're sort of in the middle of it already, right? So, did he slip you a little money to start the conversation early?
No,
No.
it's tough starting in the middle of conversations. because it throws you off. If you have things that are written down, it's like, well, I already discussed that.
I know, but I
You don't-
can't
So
do that when you're
you
doing
have
your.
a-
Exactly.
that's
No,
right.
and I most definitely would rather answer any questions than I leave and the questions are still out there. It's good to have that answered in the beginning.
Yep. And I was encouraged that we did have questions at town meeting about some of these items that have been previously covered in a public forum, but not necessarily as large a forum. And I'll just take this opportunity to plug CIP a little bit in that the CIP committee does go through their process every year and compiles their recommendations in a report. And that report is formally presented to the Budget Committee, the Planning Board, and the Board of Selectmen at a public hearing, usually in the month of December. And the written report is available in printed copies and as a PDF file on the town's website.
In addition to that, and before we get into, I have to say it before my mind clears out.
Yeah.
The other item that I think, if we're going to pay for a pavement survey, I think included in the town report, we're asking for instance, this year, $260,000 for paving. We should have some sort of description of what it is we're spending the money on. We're spending on what roads, what process. If we have this paving survey done, we can refer to that, and I think it makes everything a little clearer.
Exactly.
And
Chief.
in CIP, we try to follow the CIP as close as possible as far as stuff that we put in. But for example, the Suburban, the 2010 Suburban, and no fault of ours because we maintenance the vehicle, on a regular basis. We follow everything that should be done to it. The engine went at 65,000 miles. Now, are we going to stay with our CIP plan to replace that vehicle after it's got a new engine in it? We chose to put off for whatever amount of years, knowing that it now has a new engine, and as long as the body is in good shape, we can continue with that. That is all changes which CIP allows you to follow and is, good for the town, and you can keep up with that.
Well, a 10-year plan, when you look at the 10th year out in the future, is going to be less certain than the coming year.
Right.
My view is that it's better to project a possible need at a point in time, and then as you get closer and evaluate it, recognize that it can be pushed off a year or two. It's much less disruptive to do that than to come up very close to when you need to expend the funds and say, we have to pull this forward by 3 or 4 years. Something
Where
like
did it
that.
come from?
Right.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
Chief, the CIP program works, and I'll give an example. 2 years ago, how much money was submitted by, or CIP say, for the radio system and the antennas?
It was roughly $180,000.
And isn't it at the first meeting, you came in and said there's a grant for that, please take that off the books? So in my mind, the CIP works, and thank you. Sometimes you don't get credit for the money you do save the town.
All right. The department, during the last 2 northeast snowstorms, we set the emergency management generator up at the school in case it was needed. Fortunately, it wasn't. And we left it there for, town meeting in case the power was disrupted or something along that lines, that we could just turn the power on there. The generator was moved from the Mirror Lake Station, which is normally used at the Mirror Lake Station if the power goes out, to the townhouse, just in case there was another example of the power going out like it did last year, that you wouldn't be in the dark there counting votes and getting stuff situated. But There was not a large windstorm that was incorporated in this year, which was great. Just a lot of snow. During this last northeast snowstorm, we responded to 3 medical calls, which the department ended up plowing into all 3 of the patients to get into their actual driveway. And unfortunately, all 3 were fairly long driveways. One of them needed the 4x4 ambulance to actually get in the driveway even after it was plowed, and was transported by us to the hospital. The department is working on getting final specs together to put out for to the fire apparatus companies for the replacement of engine 2. That was covered Sue's question, but I think we covered it a little bit more in depth, and if there's any further questions that you may have in reference to that, I'll be more than glad to answer whenever I can. On February 9th, 5 members of the department attended what's called the Stop the Bleed training, train the trainer class, and that was held at our fire station. Adam Thompson, Heather Bozer, Skip Galvin, Sandy Lemieux, and Kyle Williams went through a 1-hour training held at the central station. The class prepares the members that took the class to teach other groups, such as teachers, how to pack wounds and apply tourniquets to save lives with serious bleeding. And when I say serious bleeding, it doesn't have to be an active shooter or someone that's causing some type of large-scale incident. It could be a matter of someone was working at the school in maintenance-wise and get a serious cut, and as far as arterial-wise, and that they needed a tourniquet or some type of packing of that injury until further help could arrive. We are currently working with the Tufton Middle School to try and get this program to all the teachers. Tufton Middle Firefighters Association purchased the training kits to be able to hold further trainings throughout town. We have purchased the kits that would be needed to supply each classroom in the elementary school 1 kit per classroom. I'm not going to open up this kit because they're sealed, but it contains a tourniquet. It contains the packing materials as far as to stop a serious bleeding wise, as far as to pack a wound. If you had
And does that have a coagulant in it?
Yes, it does. And they do have a life expectancy, but they're quite some time as far as several years as far as that goes. We felt that it would be a good thing for our school to have the different kits in place, and for the teachers to have that training. And it not only would help them there, it'd help them in as far as their everyday life wise. And it's a very simple thing. It's not meant to make them into EMTs or anything along
Can I
that
pass
line.
this around?
Yes.
to the public?
It's just meant to help them if there is something serious that takes place. The tabletop exercise that was held on 2/28/18 in conjunction with Carroll County Coalition of Public Health went well. Jeff Jones oversaw that. He's the Coalition of Public Health supervisor, and I think that overall we've got quite a bit out of it as far as the people that were there. And thank you as far as selectmen was, our representative that showed up to that.
That was very informative. Certainly a little snapshot window into the pretty extensive planning that's required just to be available if we have a public health emergency that might come up, so.
Yes. Also, as far as over the past couple of months, I've been talking with a Doug Smithwood, who is working on a solar committee project. I have given him all the information he's looking for on a central station electric use. He is attempting to secure a grant to lower electricity for the central station, and for low-income people as far as that goes in the area. I still think that there's many questions to be answered. One is the central station. Will it support solar panel arrays on the roof as far as the way it's designed? Does the town support a large solar array in the field near the cemetery or a pavilion with a solar array on it in the field for the central station? And how would the power be fed back to the central station? That's all questions that are out there and were asked as far as of the gentleman. He apparently did have a meeting with Co-op
Last Friday.
last Friday, and they were looking into that. What his main hope is that he can reduce our delivery fee as far as our cost fee. That is roughly $347 to like $58. But I think, again, that he's gonna run into the problem that we have a 600 amp service. That service is driven by the sprinkler system that we have in the building, that the startup on that sprinkler pump is over 500 amps at once. Yes, it's a one-time thing, but that's why the system is so big as far as that goes. And I think that the co-op, that is the reason why we have that delivery fee. If that can be switched, great, but I think it's gonna be tough. And again, it would be up to the town whether or not that they want to see, something like that happening in the, the field and things like that. I have some further questions. The town needs to start working on how it plans to proceed on 12/31/2018 with the ambulance transport contract. Should we have a committee that is looking into future contracts, or how do you want to proceed? I think it needs to be visited before the next budget cycle gets put into place, so that we're not all of a sudden going, oh, we need to rush into this.
My opinion is this whole thing needs to be well underway before we get to the budget season, if not completely completed. And at the very least, by the time we get to budget season, I think we ought to have an RFP out there, depending upon what we have in terms of a response date on it. We don't want to wait until it's too late to include it in the budget process.
And in conjunction with that, we need to get busy reporting on the income stream.
And,
So that
and I
we-
don't want to, we have a certain amount of people that have been billed,
Yep.
but I don't want to just say, yeah, this is what we've got coming in until
No, I
can-
think we need just to, we need to establish a reporting system.
Yep.
So here it is, end of the first quarter. Sometime in March, this is what we've got out billed, this is what we've collected. So we can get a feel for how much of this work we're gonna do it ourselves. And how much, because that, part of the negotiations with whoever provides our ambulance service is gonna be the fact that we have our own ambulance as well.
Yep. And I'll be able to give you a further, better snapshot of what we actually have billed and what we couldn't bill because of, it's over a year old and things like that before we could get all the
Yeah, I'm not so
bills in place.
concerned about, uncollectible receivables as I am about the current usage, what we bill, how much we're
Mhm.
collecting, and maybe include in the report how many calls there were that stewards did.
Okay,
Because we can probably assume from that
Okay.
what they did
sure.
as far as cash flow.
Okay.
And maybe by the next time you come back,
We should be able to. I had asked Diane to start looking for electronic transfers into the account because some of the Medicare stuff is coming in directly as far as that goes. And I would think that would also be Jack Whitmer that showed us that that was coming up. So we're just waiting to see how that whole process plays out. One thing that I didn't put on this paperwork was that Captain Pike has been working with Google Maps in reference to 2 different areas. One was Chase Point and Middle Chase Point, as far as they obviously don't connect. And he had a call that had concerns because people come in, they're lost in there because Google Maps shows that they do connect, so they end up turning around. He was able to find an area in Google Maps that allows you to make those corrections, and they do actually get back to you, and they have made some changes. Same with the Federal Corners in Willan not being a maintained through road. They made those corrections on Google Maps.
What about Canaan Road? Remember a couple of years ago, the buses get in from Ossipee?
That wasn't something that was told to us,
Right.
so nothing has been done
Yeah.
to it, but it could be.
Yeah. And another one that I know shows up on GPS a lot is North Line Road.
Yes.
That should be a through road.
It should be.
Yeah, should be.
Yeah, that's right.
How do we get that done?
Huh? Yeah, but at any rate, yeah. If you're coming up 109 from Brookfield toward Tuftonboro, yes, once you just keep going on North Line Road all the way through.
Yeah, that's quite a gully.
Yeah, yes it is. So, well, great. Any,
Like our-
I just have a quick question. Who led the bleed training? I know they were doing it at Huggins with a paramedic, not a paramedic,
It was
Williamson.
the leader as far as the bleed training came out of the southern area of the state that works actually for a hospital. And I can get you her exact name as far as
What level
for
training
that.
was that? Is that an EMT or paramedic?
She taught. Obviously, there was paramedics, EMTs in the class as far as.
So it's just through a
Yep.
hospital?
Yep, it was from a
Not
hospital.
Huggins?
And I'll get you exact hospital and exact name so that you have that.
Lloyd?
And a representative from Huggins Hospital, Janet Williams, was at that
Oh, she
training
was
to
also there.
take the training.
Oh, she's very good, okay.
I'd like to read the following, Chief. A note of thanks to our fire chief and his staff for having the backup generators available for the voting polls at the town meeting. To follow up on that note, I would like to ask the board if I could follow up on the possible options of getting backup generation power to some of our town buildings. I would like to work in conjunction with our fire chief. I would also like to investigate if there are any grants available.
Great.
Yeah, I think especially a townhouse, because I think it's important that we don't have a blowout when there's voting.
Yeah,
right.
It's no
We made it through the last 2 years with various amounts of snow. And again, thank you to your staff for making those efforts. If you want, give that copy right to Karen.
The only question I had for you is on the stop the bleed
Yes.
packets and that sort of thing. Is this something that the police department already has?
As far as training was?
And the stuff in their cruisers, because this strikes me as this is an immediate response kind of thing. So if, for instance, one of the police officers goes out on a call and there's somebody that has a severe bleeding incident, the idea is you want to address it now, not 10 minutes from now or whatever when the ambulance gets there, because they might bleed out in the meantime, right? So
Right.
this is something you guys already have?
Yes.
Perfect. Great.
Well, we use a different tourniquet, but yes.
And,
One that goes around the back.
and I think that, I could be wrong, but it's mostly for if an officer has an issue, that it's there for themselves, or someone to use on them if there was, because they carry it on them themselves.
Hey, yeah, though they have used, we haven't, but others have used
Can
them.
can I ask the two of you to compare notes here?
Yeah.
And if this is, if this, for what it does, is different than what you have, and it makes sense for your officers to carry this for, you know, members of the public that they come up against, and
We do have kits that we carry on our belts, and mine ripped, I get a new, and we have to replace them. We actually did this probably like 2 years ago. We carry quick clot, the hemostatic gauze, and we carry SWAT T tourniquets, which can also be used as a pressure dressing. And I know at least one officer has his own cat tourniquet too, so.
And the thing is, with the different tourniquets, believe it or not, there are fake ones out there.
of this,
Yeah,
As far as
tourniquets.
tourniquet wise, and when I say fake, they're built much more cheaply. You can get them for like
they
10
look the same, but they
Yes.
don't work the
The
same.
handles
Yes.
break. so
Yeah,
you
the
gotta-
handles
windlass
just snap
brakes.
off once you've started turning them.
Never
So it's a
fails.
difference between a packet that's $10 and a packet that's like $40. Believe it or not, but, so we just have to make sure that people are careful that they don't get the, you know, the considered fake ones that are out there, because they'll fail in the process. But I know with like Narcan, our police department went through the complete training as far as getting certified with, being able to give Narcan to the general public. Other departments went through training basically to give to each other,
Force protection.
as far as their own protection as far as it goes. So I didn't know if there was a difference between what you carried as far as, you know, the tourniquet for your own use, or, you know, the everyday type of thing as far as
No,
the law.
it'd be suitable for anybody. And like I said, the SWAT T, what's nice about it is it can be used as a pressure dressing too.
Yes.
It's not very practical to put on ahead of time, but
Any other questions for Chief Thompson? Chief, thank you very much.
Have a good week. Hi, Chief. Thank you
Russ
for waiting.
White's today.
yeah, the meeting.
So,
Spring,
you
It's
have
spring
shorts
now.
on.
summer whites.
No, well, in the past asked for that, so the bottom two don't really mean a whole lot. That's the top one. Shows what the categories of the offenses are. Let's see, you've had more with this, let's see here.
Thank you, sir.
More cases. When you look down at the chart, we have 3 felonies versus 0 to date last year. We have 3 this year. We have 22 offenses versus 11. Although when it kicks up here, it says 24. But oh, that's offense report, so some of them might have more than one offense attached to them. So we've been busier with offenses and obviously less with motor vehicle stops. And on top of that, we've had some people who've had to take a time off or been sick, so we're still, but we've been busier with those. But if you look at the bottom, 2 things which are suspected of using, basically it's it talks about it's whether or not alcohol was involved, that's all. So yes, we already have the gunshot trauma kit, if you will. It's a hemostatic dressing to pack the wounds, and then you have tourniquets. Basically, if it's in a place where you can use a tourniquet, you'd use a tourniquet, and you pack the wound with the hemostatic otherwise. I do have a meeting coming up with, next week with Verizon, see about what we can do about it. He believes that we can do something with our Verizon bill, maybe save some money on that. We've got, I had a couple of memos from Lloyd asking about the computers. Talked to Tom, but he was going on vacation, so I've got to coordinate with Tom on the new server.
He's back.
Yes, and I also have to coordinate with IMC to make sure we're all up to speed. We did have a meeting with IMC, Sheriff's Department, other agencies, and dialing in to see where the different levels of projects are. So, working on that. One of the things that was not, I went to a meeting with IMC last, I want to say June, and they talked about this cross-agency.
IMC
Is
is,
our record system.
okay,
It's actually changed names 2 or 3 times, but it's our records management system. So we had, there's talk about being able to cross-agency, so in other words, we could check with, if we had an issue with a name come up, we could check with other departments. Right now, we can only check with Carroll County and us, our records are shared. But when we went to the meeting last June, they said, well, if the Sheriff's Department spends like $1,500, you'll get it too. Well, we found out afterwards, no, you don't get it too, you have to pay that also. Everybody wants that access to, but we'll see, maybe later in the year we'll look at that.
What's the target date for full operation of your computer system, server, et cetera?
That is something I have to talk with Tom, I hope to next month, get it done.
So within 30 days, is that a good representation?
I'd like by the end of April, yes.
Is there anything we can do?
No, it's just a matter of me getting with Tom and our schedule's working, because he took a week off and he was busy with some other projects at one point.
You know, that's,
And I've taken some stuff off my computer and put it onto a hard drive, an external hard drive, and so that has helped with some of the, because it was getting full with videos from our video system, so it's taken off, so that'll help.
I want us to be as helpful as we can. That's a key part of police work, is your records.
You also sent the thing about the Bay Road incident. I can't say anything about that because it's
Yeah.
under investigation still. It hasn't been, let's see what comes of that.
Okay.
And then you asked about the weekly summaries. I haven't done them. It's easy, when the Sheriff's Department sends me a weekly log, it's easy. When the Sheriff's Department doesn't send me a weekly log, it causes me to, it takes more time, so I haven't done those. But we'll look at working on that.
When you're talking about activity, I was asked by a citizen, was there an indictment recently involving Tufton Borough for aggravated assault?
Yes.
I'd be glad to
Yes.
speak to you privately.
Yes,
I
there
don't
was
want
an
to
indictment for
violate
aggravated assault.
anybody's rights here.
No, that was done. Yes, there was an indictment recently for aggravated assault for an incident that happened down in Mountain Shadows.
So, I'm sorry.